Okay, so something I'm commonly asked about is how do I resume my StyleGAN2 training? Let's say for whatever reason your paperspace machine shut down, maybe you had to quit it, maybe you just want to stop and see how it was going and then come back to it. So there's two different ways in which you can resume your training. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to assume that you're using the fork that I have for StyleGAN2, in part because that uses a special technique to actually resume training. So in this example, I have here like a model that I quit by hand. If I go back to my actual model here, and I go and I look at my latest, this is what I latest trained on, right? So I can come in here and I can see that I have a pickle file from about an hour and a half ago, and I just want to resume training from this. So it's actually the same model, it's the same setup, and the way you just do that is actually, it's pretty simple. You can just rerun the exact same command, and if you're using my model, you should be able to just resume from scratch. Ignore some of the stuff that you see here. This is a little bit of a special model. It's not usually what I teach, but it works all the same. So you'll run this model, you're gonna hit return. It's gonna do a little bit of work. And the important thing to look for is there's going to be a line in here that's going to tell you what it picked up from right there. So I'm just going to stop this here. See this line here, and it says loading networks from, and then it gives you a path. It gives you results, and then it says from network snapshot 361.pickle. So if I look over here, that's correct. That's exactly what I want it to pick up from. So if I just hit Q and I come back here, you'll see it's starting to build. And it's going to pick up exactly from that position again. And I'm going to let this run for a little bit longer, and we can actually look and see what it's producing. So I've let this run for a little bit, and you'll see one of the first things you see is that the K image, which if you've ever kept an eye on this, when it starts training from scratch, it'll just start at 0. So in this case, what it's actually doing is it's actually starting from 361, which is the number that the other model was already at, right? So if you come over here and you look at this, it started at 361, so it's now picked up from that again. So if I come in here and I refresh this new folder, you'll see that it's actually started picking up again from 361. So this is an example of how you literally, like, you can kind of check to make sure it's doing the right thing. It should keep the numbers consistent, and if you open this, it should look like what the previous fake file did as well. This is going to take a little bit of time to load. Okay, so it shouldn't look like faces. It shouldn't look like anything you've started from training otherwise. You should literally be able to come in here and just open these two together. This one's going to load a little bit longer again. Okay, so these look pretty similar. They're slightly different, but that's because of the randomness that the fake files generate from. But they're pretty similar in just the style of how they look. So that's the first method. That's using what's built in, like just the latest like resume management system. Now let's say you don't actually want to resume from the previous pickle file that you had. Let's say you're starting a new model, or you want to pick up from something new. There's a couple different ways in which you could do this. So the first thing is, if you empty out your results folder, it will just pick up from whatever, like maybe the faces model, which is already in there. It'll just pick up from those, and that's one way you can approach this. It works pretty well. But let's say you have a specific model or a specific pickle file you want to start from. So in this case, like I have this other model here, and I want to do maybe like some mixed training or just something else. There's a way that I can pick up explicitly from this file, and we're going to look at how to do that. I had a little hacky system in here to skip that, but basically what you want to do is you want to pick this file and you want to say, I want to start from this image, from this file. So the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to do a little bit of code editing. Sorry, I know I've promised that this class is not about code, but we're going to do one little thing in here just to be able to do this. What you want to be able to do is you want to open up what's this training loop.py file. So the way in which you can do that is inside this training folder. If you open training, you'll see training loop.py. You're just going to open this in a text editor. So you can open this up in Sublime Text. And if you scroll down a little while, it looks like it's about line 139, you'll see there's a thing called resume pickle. And if you notice, it says latest. It might say something else in your file, but latest is one of the options you can use. So one of the things you can do here is you can just grab this. We're just going to copy this, and we're going to paste this. What you want to do is actually comment this out, just so you remember that you can use latest. So you're going to comment this out. And the next thing we want to do is we actually want to paste in this path into this file here. So let's grab this path. So again, in terminal, you can just click on the pickle file, hit Command C to copy the path, and then you can paste it in right here. Okay. So now you want to save this. Make sure when you save it, it's uploaded back up to transmit. See that it happens there. And now I can run this command again. So let me actually just quit this here, Control C. And I'm going to hit up again. And this is just going to rerun this command. All the settings are the same, but the difference is, I'll show you in a minute, it's going to pick up from a different pickle file. So I'm just going to run this. And there we go. So now we see loading networks from, and it's giving us a path. And that path is not the previous path. That is the new path. That is the path of, oh, that didn't work. Let's do this. Go back up a little bit. So loading networks from, and this is the path that we gave it. So now I'm going to let this run again for maybe another 5 minutes, and then I'll quickly show you how different the training looks when you open that folder. Just for a couple more minutes, just to get my first tick. The first thing you'll notice here is that K-image is set to 0. So that's a good indication that the latest wasn't running. That latest command that you saw previously is not running. The next way to check is to come in here, and if I refresh my results folder, you'll see there's a new results folder, and if I come in here, see all these are set to 0 as well. And if I actually open the fakes 0, 0, 0, you'll see these images are not at all what I was training from prior. Now, this is obviously like essentially resetting training, but if you ever feel like the latest might not be working, or just the resume training might not be working the way you want it to, always make sure you edit this line. So like even literally if I felt like this wasn't working and I just want to go back to my latest pickle file from here, I could copy this path and I could just paste this in, and like this will work 99.9% of times. If it doesn't work, that means maybe the path isn't working or the pickle file is corrupted, but almost always this will work. So this is almost the surefire way. So if you're ever just like, I just want to be sure, just use this version and make sure you paste in this path. That will always work. So I'm going to go and set this back to this. I usually leave latest running because it's generally what I want to do, and there's pretty rare cases where I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to save this back. So this is like 2 ways to really easily resume your pickle file or to start over from a new transfer learning model. Both these will work fine. If you have questions, let me know in the YouTube channel or in Slack. Thanks for watching.